I have friends.
Oh, so you do have someone to talk to.
Yeah.
In film, television, and theatre, the fourth wall is this imaginary wall that sits between the characters in the story and the audience. And by breaking the fourth wall, the characters demonstrate that they are aware that someone is watching them and speaks and engages directly with those viewers. When characters break the fourth wall, we as an audience feel like we are in on something. We are getting a behind the scenes look at what they're thinking and what they're feeling. This is something we often get in novels, but it's a much harder thing to execute in film and TV. Breaking the fourth wall can be a slippery slope, and it's not an easy thing to do. Do it right, and it can be super effective, really building a relationship between the main character and the viewer that feels extremely intimate. If not done right, it comes off flat and basically just defaults into a narration that absolutely no one cares about. Breaking the fourth wall is not a new technique by any means in the world of cinema and television, but having recently watched the series Fleabag and the first season of High Fidelity, there are similarities in the characters and the themes of the show, dealing with love, family, and self-reflection and growth, but there were definitely some big differences I noticed in the way that Fleabag, played by Phoebe Waller-Bridge, and Rob, played by Zoe Kravitz, broke the fourth wall, and the overall effectiveness of this technique in the shows that I really wanted to break down. Before we get into it, there will be spoilers ahead for Fleabag and season 1 of High Fidelity, so you have been warned. One key thing I noticed is the frequency that the main character breaks the fourth wall. I definitely feel that it either needs to be all the time, so much so that the audience is really just eagerly waiting to see what the character has to say, or be used sparingly and used with a bit of shock factor, just reminding the audience here and there that the character is actually aware that they're being watched. And on top of this, the timing of when the character decides to engage the audience is also crucial. They might do it before a scene to provide some context. They might do it in the middle of a scene to provide a sort of update or a progress report on how they think things are going, or their reaction after a scene to put things into perspective and to punctuate that moment. Fleabag breaks this barrier constantly. Fleabag is constantly looking at the camera and delivering sarcastic and sassy quips, or a confused or disgusted expression, giving us a quick heads up on how she feels the conversation is currently going.
No one's asked me a question in 45 minutes.
So what do you do?
She's constantly communicating with us, with the other characters unable to see, and it creates this really special bond between us, making our communications feel like a special secret. Fleabag constantly filling us in on what is going on around her is such an integral part of the show, and by having it happen so often, we really feel like we are a companion along for the ride. Meanwhile, in High Fidelity, Rob breaks the fourth wall often, but not to the extent of Fleabag. Rather, Rob is mainly providing context to her love life, explaining her previous heartbreaks, and talking about her feelings when something goes wrong. You rarely see Rob break away mid-sentence to give us a comment.
Seriously, how she talks. What is this, a John Hughes movie?
And she usually is talking to us when nobody is really around, right before or right after something happens. For example, her reaction to finding out about her ex's new girlfriend Lily.
What? Lily girl!
In this scenario, it would have been more entertaining to see her scream at the camera and then instantly go back to pretending that everything was okay, letting us know that she's trying to put on a brave face like we all often do, even when receiving upsetting news. And by contrasting these elements, you can really see and feel how different the audience's connection with Fleabag is to Rob. I feel like I'm with Fleabag all the time. She might look at me at any moment, mid-conversation, flash me a grin or a wink.
Oh, so you do have someone to talk to.
Yeah.
But with Rob, you just don't get that same feeling. You don't get that feeling that you're there by her side. She just rants to you from time to time when she's mad or upset, so the relationship with her feels extremely one-sided. This leads me to my next point, the content. What are they actually telling us when they break the fourth wall? The point of having them talk directly to us is to give us an insight into what and how they are reacting and processing their situation. And I think that it works really well when it shows us either one, how they're rationalizing a really complex and sticky situation, often making them more relatable, or two, how they are interpreting a really simple situation, but in a fairly strange way. Often this is used when they might be a little bit crazy and we are getting to understand how the cogs are turning in their head.
There is an idea of a Patrick Bateman, some kind of abstraction, but there is no real me, only an entity, something illusory.
Fleabag and Rob are definitely the former. They were written to be relatable overthinkers with questionable moral compasses, but there is a clear distinction between the content that they say to the camera. Fleabag may often deflect and try and ignore her issues, but it's so clear that she thinks about them all the time and is somewhat reflective in these moments while talking to us. So this takes our relationship with Fleabag to another level. She talks to us not like she'd talk to a friend or an acquaintance. She talks to us as if we are literally her one best friend in the whole world, who she can almost but not quite share everything with. On the other hand, Rob just treats us like a person she just met, that she seems to like and doesn't mind ranting to. In her talks to us, we're just given information and bits and pieces of her past, but it doesn't really dig deep into her fears or insecurities. And even at times, she's just straight up in denial while talking to us.
Anyway, how am I doing? I'm fine. I'm good, you know? I quit smoking again. The whole Mac Lily engagement thing is fine, you know? Mac's no longer an option, so he's no longer a problem.
So it doesn't really feel like she's breaking down her barriers and letting herself be known to us. This tool of breaking the fourth wall should not be used just for no reason. It needs to be intentional and it needs to be purposeful. It's such a unique tool that can at times be jarring, so when it is used, it really ends up being the focal point of the storytelling. Rob's use of this technique in High Fidelity at the end of the day really just felt like a glorified narration. It didn't feel like it went beyond providing a bit of context and letting Rob rant for a little bit, which she just ends up doing with her friends in the shop later anyway. She constantly is asking questions, but clearly isn't ready to self-reflect to find the answers.
Okay. What's wrong with me? Seriously. I need answers. If you need answers, you need to go to the source. And I need to know. Why am I doomed to be left? Why am I doomed to be rejected?
I will mention, however, that one episode was dedicated to the character of Simon, played by David H. Holmes, Rob's employee and gay ex-boyfriend. And the shifting of perspective was really refreshing and probably the episode with the most depth and conflict in the first season. But this was only done once, and I hope that in future seasons, if there are any, Rob's other friend Charisse, played by Divine Joy Randolph, has her own episode as well. But at the end of the day, I didn't feel like having Rob talk to us really added anything or brought anything more to the table. She honestly might as well have been writing in her diary and just dictating it to us. On the other hand, in Fleabag, the audience is essentially a part of Fleabag's consciousness.
Can't go out with the dog.
We are a crucial part of her. We are who she confides in time after time, with her most intimate thoughts as well as her most crudest.
Jesus.
And all of this is interwoven to create brilliant emotional as well as comedic moments.
The next man who walks in here is getting ridden to death. Dad!
Hi.
Not ideal.
On top of this, in the second season of Fleabag, it's taken to another level when the priest that Fleabag has become infatuated with notices her talking to the audience.
Will last a week.
What was that? What? Where did you just go?
What?
You just went somewhere. There. There. Where's you just gonna be?
Nowhere?
This added a whole new dimension. The fact that the priest notices this about Fleabag meant that he was noticing the real her, the complete package, along with the baggage and the bad habits that is talking to the audience. This tiny moment really exposed Fleabag, and it makes the viewers feel exposed, that someone else knows we exist. And this all stems back to Fleabag's fear of letting other people know the real her, the whole of her. And the reason she keeps us around is basically to joke around and not take things too seriously, even in serious moments. She always needs to deflect to something else, so she looks at us for an outlet. Another scene with the priest has him literally look down the camera.
He's a bit annoying, actually.
What is that?
What?
That thing that you're doing, it's like you disappear.
What?
What are you not telling me?
Nothing.
Tell me what's going on underneath there.
Nothing.
Tell me, come on,
No.
tell me.
Nothing.
Ah,
Nothing.
what are you
No,
doing?
stop being so churchy.
I'm not being churchy, I'm just trying to get to know you.
Well, I don't want that.
Now seeing that really felt like an intrusion. The show has done such a good job to create a bond between Fleabag and the viewer. It felt like her glances and snide remarks were just between the two of us. It was our secret, and to have someone notice it and invade it, it just felt uncomfortable. And that's the beauty of how Fleabag has really utilized this technique and how impactful it has been for this series. It made us feel so connected to the main character that in the end of the series, when Fleabag finally walks away from the character and waves goodbye, we get this beautiful, bittersweet ending, no longer able to be there for Fleabag, as she no longer needs us as an emotional crutch. I absolutely loved Fleabag, one of the best shows I've ever seen, extremely well written and acted by Phoebe Waller-Bridge. It was funny, smart, witty, and most of all, human and relatable. Such effective use of breaking the fourth wall really requires creativity and ingenuity to not feel cliche and flat. And while Fleabag was able to rise above what had come before, High Fidelity could not. Thank you guys for watching this video, and be sure to hit that like button and to subscribe. Let me know what other TV shows or movies you thought were able to effectively break the fourth wall, and let me know what you thought of Fleabag and High Fidelity in general in the comments section down below. As always, thank you guys again, and I'll catch you guys next time.